Gears of War, a beloved video game franchise adored by many gamers. But what is it that makes this game so special? Well, I'll tell you what. Not only is it a combination of great writing and gameplay, but also the music. The music in this game is so well done and represents the themes of the game perfectly. The composer, Ramin Djawadi, does an excellent job encompassing cinematic writing in an interactive setting. A lot of his musical styles can also be traced back to his experience in the film and TV world, with some of his early works being the first couple Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and Game of Thrones, which we all know had really fantastic music accompanying a fantastic show through the end. Maybe not the ending, because they kind of abandoned a lot of the story plots, and it was, weird how Arya killed the Night King, and they had Jaime's character, which they kind of just fucked off, and Peter Dinklage comes in at the end. He's like, I know everything. Bran should be on the throne. Why would you put Bran on the throne? It doesn't make any... Gears 5 is the second installment in the Gears series that Djawadi has worked on, that being Gears 4 and Gears 5. Despite themes and motifs already existing in the series before these installments, Djawadi not only works to improve and create new arrangements of those old pieces, but he also works to create new ideas for emerging plot points and characters. Take the main theme, for example. The main theme is for Kate Diaz, who is one of the main characters. Monumentally important. Basically, she can talk to bugs, but no story spoiler. Djawadi encompasses her story elements very well in this theme. And here it is. It's on the green screen. I'm going to lay down so you can see it now. Now that was epic. Also, I changed outfits. Surprise. This piece is a prime example of Djawadi's strengths. He can create subtly provocative tracks that build tension and emotion through a fairly minimal orchestration at times. But then the question arises, how can you do this in a game setting? This isn't a movie or a TV show. You're not sitting there not interacting with the game, even though some games exist like that. Looking at you, Uncharted. Yeah, I just shat all over Uncharted. What are you going to do about it? This is a game. The music is tied directly to interactivity regardless of timing or musical cues, and the composer needs to figure out a way to make that work. To categorize this, we have 3 areas. 1, combat, because it's a game about shooting bad guys. 2, exploration, because you got to look around and find where the bad guys are. And 3, cinematic moments in-game and through cutscenes, because sometimes you want to look badass while you're shooting bad guys. Let's start with the combat. Roll the clip.
Well, hub's farther than I hoped.
Then we better move it, Delta.
Correct, through here. We got a Stormak at our location.
I'll deploy TV units to take it out. Just get the Carmine.
We'll go. Right after we're done here. Drones are dug in. Jack, triple flag.
This clip is amazing. Playing through this part of the game is an absolute thrill, because the music that accompanies it through the general exploration is subtle enough to imply that there's some kind of danger, but it doesn't go overboard, and it's still very provocative in the tension that it builds. And as you play, you really start feeling that something big is coming. And then you get to this big moment in the game, and there's the door, and you're like going through the door, and you kick down the door, and you're like, bah, 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 and there's like the dudes everywhere, and the thing comes in and crashes down the windows, and you're just like, oh, we gotta... Anyways, this is a great example of how Djawadi uses a layered score to accompany rapidly changing parts of the game. As the shooting theme and the exploration theme use the same melodic and harmonic devices, there's just more instrumentation and more rhythmic implementation in the shooting theme. So you don't really feel like it's too jarring, and the parts of the game flow together seamlessly. Next, let's take a look at exploration. It functions somewhat similarly to the last example, but this time we can see Digawati implement branching for a completely opposite effect. There it is.
Anyone else surprised by the size of that rocket? It's massive!
Rockets are big. You know the ballistic coefficient you need to accommodate atmospheric drag?
No, I don't.
Well, it's high. Go ahead and abide in your ignorance, man. Not my problem.
Glad we agree. Cheers! Can we stop?
The way the score swells here as you ride the skiff, that's the sand surf thing, across the planet's surface makes exploring and riding around feel incredible. Like, all I want to do is just ride this thing around like Tony Hawk Pro Skater and just be cool and badass and surf across sand dunes and maybe meet some sandworms. Sick Dune reference. Furthermore, when you approach the city ruins and get off the skiff, the score relaxes and gives more time for you, the player, to assess your surroundings without being distracted by epic romp music, which is really ingenious as you now have time to soak everything in without being distracted. Moving on. Let's talk about cutscenes in games. Are they good? I mean, I don't actually know. I know cutscenes in games are kind of a controversial topic as of late because people want to have more engagement and more interactivity, and sometimes cutscenes take that away. But in the case of Gears 5, yes, I think they do cutscenes really well. And the reason for this is the smooth transition between game and cutscene, which is assisted by music and at times QuickTime events. And no, I'm not talking about the QuickTime events where you're playing Heavy Rain and Ethan's running through the grocery store and your slippery sliding hands keep missing pressing X and square and he's all over the place. Can we play that? Yeah, it's classic. I'm talking about choices. One specific moment in Gears 5 involves you choosing to save one character over the other. JD or Del, and we all obviously chose Del to save because JD is a piece of shit and all the homies hate JD. Remember that. But throughout the scene where you make this choice, the music has a low-pass filter placed over it, and you really need to consider your options. Similarly to how it functioned in the exploration section, the kind of pulling back of musical presence allows you to consider your options and really take the time to think about your choice. Have a look at the clip.
You've made your choice. Now die with it.
Okay. Let's go, boy, let's go.
Hit him with another outfit change. Like I said before, this moment really gives you time to think about your choice. You're sitting there with your controller and you're like, who do I save? I don't know. My gamer brain can't handle all this information. Just kidding. I'm killing JD. Regardless, as soon as you make your choice, the layered score that implemented that low-pass filter comes off, and the player choice triggers a crossfade branch into this new piece that accompanies the cutscene. And even though that might seem like a small amount of player interaction or just things that are happening in general, that makes this moment huge. This allows the player to feel like they've just had an impact in a serious decision. The entire game story up to this point is culminating here. And the music being directly tied into player interaction as well as this huge cutscene moment makes the player feel like they're not just watching Kate make a choice, but they're making the choice with Kate. And the music helps solidify that 100%. Now that I've explained what the freaking heck those categories I was talking about mean, we can also use them to compile a rough asset list of the music in the game. This is a screenshot of the Spotify tracks for the game, and this is a picture of an Excel spreadsheet that I made that puts all the game tracks there, and it lists their times, and it puts them in the categories, and is there anything else you want me to do? Yeah, you're welcome. So now we know all about the music in the game. And you might be wondering, what the heck was this fucking guy doing? Why does he care so much? I mean, I know it's a weird thing to care about, but still, I think more games should use music in the same way that Gears 5 uses music. At its core, Gears of War is a game about shooting mutants in the face with different guns. Granted, it has a fantastic story that goes along with it, but the gameplay doesn't really go much further than that. But in recent years, with the release of Gears 4 and Gears 5, with, as we know, our boy Ramen Jango Fett doing the music, the implementation of the score in different ways that are not necessarily super technical, but fit the game's style perfectly, really makes the player feel like they're having more of an impact on what is going on in the game. And that is, I think, the biggest strength of this game, is that despite being a cinematic movie-like masterpiece, it still maintains player involvement through how the music is implemented in the game. And you know, that makes the experience a lot more than just ripping into a guy with a fucking chainsaw. I don't know. It makes the experience about experiencing the game and the emotional developments of the characters and the story through the music. And personally, I don't think a lot of games can say that they do that very well. And I don't think I'd change anything about the way the music is implemented in Gears 5, even though some of the techniques are fairly basic and bare bones. It's fine the way it is because it accompanies what it accompanies perfectly. So, good job, Ramin. You get a gold star. Thank you for watching.